Hi guys, welcome to the first of what will be my annual Halloween Reads video. The first book I am sort of recommending, because I'm only 5 chapters in, is a new purchase, and it is called Heart-Shaped Box, and it's written by Joe Hill, the author of Horns, which I read 2 years ago and absolutely loved. Ignatius Parrish, or Iggy Parrish, is my favourite character of all time. He's just amazing. And Jude, a faded rock star who has a weird hobby of collecting spooky items on auction sites, is fast becoming another. To give you an example of one of the kinds of things he digs, one of them is the skull of an executed witch, which he uses as a pencil holder, which I thought was just, weird but cool. Anyway, it's the story of a fading rock star named Jude who has this weird collection, and his sort of press secretary, I suppose you'd call him, clues him in on an auction whereby the spirit of a woman's stepfather is up for sale. She and her daughter are being very creeped out by it, and so they're selling it for, I think it's just over $1,000 on eBay, and a bonus is the actual suit in which he was supposed to be buried that wouldn't actually fit him at the time. He gets it in the mail along with a heart-shaped box, hence the title. And from pretty much the day he gets it, weird, creepy things start happening. And the creep factor actually begins on about page 2. That's how good this is. It just creeps you out from the get-go. Joe Hill, I think it's impossible for him not to create a richly imagined character. He's just amazing. And you can tell he's heavily influenced by music, which I respect tremendously because movies and music are my 2 chief influences. I'm absolutely loving this so far. I also own Nosferatu, which I intend to read after this. And if I love that as well, then this guy's becoming one of my favourite authors. Not on top of which, he actually has exactly the same birthday as me, 4th of June 1972, so how cool is that? But really loving this so far. Very spooky. My next 2 favourite Halloween reads are books that I've already read. They're both anthologies. One's a graphic novel and one's an anthology. I'll show you the anthology first. And no, I don't have a stutter. And it is, I couldn't create a whole Halloween Reads video without mentioning The King, could I? Nightmares and Dreamscapes by Stephen King. My second favourite anthology of his. My first is Full Dark, No Stars. But this one is more of a Halloween appropriate read, so this is why I picked it. It is amazing. The short stories in this are so good for Halloween. My favourites being Popsy, which is the story of a man who owes big money to the mob and basically earns it to pay back to them by kidnapping children for a child molester. And he picks the wrong kid at a shopping mall, and discovers that this kid is a vampire. And that's not giving anything away because it's given away on the first page pretty much, but the rest of the story pans out as well as you'd expect for our mercenary kidnapper. And deservedly so. But really well written and kind of darkly comic, which King is a master at, as you would know. Another one is Suffer the Little Children, which is a story of a primary school teacher named Miss Sidley who begins to suspect that one of the students in her class has been taken over by a demon when she sees him pull a funny face and he says something very strange to her. Before long, she sees this weird sort of facial tic in all of the students in her class, and she now believes that they've all been taken over by demons. Really, another darkly funny story, very, very creepy. The creepiest in the whole book, actually, for me. And to my knowledge, it hasn't been adapted yet. I think it should be, because it would make a great one. Another one is kind of sadly creepy. It's called The End of the Whole Mess. It's written in diary form by the eldest of 2 genius brothers. The second brother that is an absolute unquestionable genius, but he has no emotional maturity. And he demonstrates this when he believes he's found the cure for aggression in human beings. And puts this cure, which he calls the calmative, into the water supply of all of America. And it cures them of their aggression, all right, but it also has a very unpleasant extra side effect. And yeah, as I said, very sad, very dark. Just absolutely loved it. There's one called The End of the Whole Mess. No, not that's what I just said, isn't it? The 10 O'Clock People, pardon me, which is the story of a guy who's part of this sort of group of office workers who has quit smoking but hasn't really given up on the pleasure of it. And so he goes out at 10 o'clock in the morning with a lot of his other co-workers and co-workers in the area to have an illicit smoke at 10 in the morning. And because of the chemical imbalance that's caused in all of their brains by this, they're the only ones who can see that the corporate world is being taken over by these demon/alien creatures. And they band together as a united force to get rid of them. Such a clever idea. Really loved it. And yeah, I'm not going to give away any more stories because it'll put you off reading them, but this is his best collection of very creature feature kind of stories. Just loved it. I got it as a birthday present when I was 22 from an ex-boyfriend at the time, and yeah, I just absolutely loved it. And if you can get your hands on the hardcover copy of the original print version like I have, try and get it, because the cover is just amazing. It's like stone statues of all of the characters in the book, and yeah, really, really lovely. I mean, this man can find creepiness in anything, human or object or animal. He can find something creepy about it. Yeah, just absolutely loved it. Another one that I really, really love, and I've only just finished reading it recently, it's a graphic novel, and it's called Through the Woods. It's written by Emily Carroll, and it's basically a bunch of gothic fairy tale-esque horror stories that are set in the woods. And it has the creep factor, but it's also a thoroughly enjoyable read. And the way it's set out, the writing matches the pictures, so it's not typeset, it's actually handwritten. I'll show you. Like that. It's just, yeah, it's utterly amazing and really absorbing. I'm absolutely really loving it. So yeah, if you can get your hands on that, give it a go. As for novels that I've read that creep me out, the first is another Stephen King one called Pet Sematary. It was the first book of his that I ever read when I was 12. I've read it since 4 or 5 times. It's a story of a man named Lewis Creed who moves with his wife, his young daughter, and his toddler son to a small town I think it's in New England, to be the doctor in residence at a university. And when they move in, he gets to know a man across the road named Judd Crandall, who's an elderly man, and sees in him the father that he never had, so they strike up a friendship over beer every night and that sort of stuff. And the man, Judd Crandall, shows the whole family the pet cemetery, which is at the back of their house, where little kids who've lived in the town since it started have buried their pets. And all except the wife think this is lovely and charming and whatever, and because she has her own history with death that's really horrible, as you find out later. Then, while the wife and the kids are away at her parents' and Lewis is on his own, the family cat named Church gets hit by a truck. And Judd sort of helps him out by showing him another cemetery that's behind the pet cemetery, which was a Micmac Indian burial ground. And the cat comes back, but not as his former self. Later down the line, when Lewis loses another member of his family, very tragically, a human being, he cannot shake the idea that if he tries it again, it'll turn out different this time, because it was a person and they're only young. He finds out very, very differently that that's not the case. And it's one of the scariest reads of all time. If you haven't seen the movie, you'd be more creeped out by it than if you had. But even then, it's such a creepy read. And it's got a lot of tragedy at its core. So much so that Stephen King actually put it in a drawer for a couple of years before he decided to publish it, because it was just too much for him to bear. Because he had a son, I think his son Joe was the same age as one of the characters in the book at the time. And I can see why he put it in a drawer for a couple of years, because I think I would have too. It's just too close to home when you've got little kids. But he ended up publishing it anyway, because he had to get out of his publishing contract, and the publisher he's with said, well, no, you have to give us one more book. So he said, okay, take this one. And it turned out to be one of his most successful, and for good reason. So yeah, really recommend Pet Sematary. The last novel that I recommend is called House of Leaves by Mark Z. Danielewski. This one's infamous. It's a very unusually structured book. It's told from the points of view of 4 different people. The way it's set out, the typesetting, some pages are all words and no full stops. Some are set out normally, some are set out one sentence. Some pages are made up entirely of footnotes or index pieces or pictures. And it's a story of this house which spontaneously grows hallways or windowless rooms or staircases that lead to nowhere. People disappear. A whole bunch of weird things happen in this house. And the first part of the story is told from the point of view of the man who buys the house, and transcripts of the videos he took of the house. The second part is of a man who inherits an apartment from an elderly man who took these transcripts and was making a book about it. And this young man who takes over the apartment starts to be haunted by it as well. And he has his own demons that he has to live with. When you first start reading it, you think, well, it's not really a haunted house book like it was advertised, and it's not that creepy. Then you get to about the halfway point, and things start replaying in your mind. And you go, okay, well, this isn't only a house of leaves, this is a book of leaves, and they're all unfolding in my head, and I don't like it. It's over, I think it's 700 pages or just under, and it's not a quick read, but if you put in the time, it is really worth it. I've never been able to shake this story from my head. It's just so creepy. Absolutely freaking loved it. Yeah, I just absolutely loved it. So, yeah. Those are my Halloween reads for this year. Of course, you're not going to read all of these on Halloween, but if you pick up just one of them, you'll have done yourself a favour. I will be back next week with a video that a lot of booktubers have been tagged in, called the adaptation tag. And this is a tag where basically you name all of the books that you've read and loved that you would like to see become a film or a TV series or a graphic novel or a play. No one's tagged me because I'm a newbie, and I'm not going to tag anyone else because they'll probably tell me to bugger off, which I don't blame them. But I will do that probably sometime next week. One of those books, just as a spoiler, is going to be Geek Love by Catherine Dunn. Anyone who knows me will tell you that I blather on endlessly about that book because I just adored it. So that'll be one of them. But anyway, I will stop blathering on now, and I will see you guys next time. Tune in.